Welcome to the SOULFAM Podcast. I'm Diana Marquetta, and in today's episode, Angelica Perman, who is a longtime friend and a well-known healer in the Southern California area, is gracing us with both her beauty and her music and some amazing chants, which she has just recently created for the benefit of the ocean and our beautiful wildlife. Angelica is a sound healer, a spiritual transformation guide and leader, and she performs ceremonies for various factions, not only in California, but in other parts of the country as well, to bring healing, to bring grounding, and to bring greater comfort to both humans and our planet and the wildlife.
Hi, Diana. Thank you so much for having me here, girl.
My pleasure. So, truth be told, Angelica and I have known each other a really long time. She's guided me through various transitions in my life here in California. And she has also become what is known to those around her and what I hope will be a worldwide group as Angelica Perman Sound Empress. She's a magnificent musician and has a beautiful voice. And she's going to share with us today some work she's doing with the wildlife right now to bring some magic and some healing and some upgrading both to humans and to wildlife.
That's really, really important right now, right? Is to connect not only with the humans, but all sentient beings, all the creatures of this planet. And people like us that are sensitive, that are tapped in, there's no real separation there. Obviously, we connect with humans and with humans, but we also have this profound connection to nature and all the animals. And they commune with us. We commune with them. We speak with them, whether it's in our dreams or when we're, blessed to have interactions with them. So I love that we're talking about this.
Can we back up just a second and talk a little bit about your work as a sound healer? Sound healing is becoming a more well-known, popular sort of way to transition from one, not only spiritual state, but physical state, emotional state, mental state to another, to heal our long-held issues and frankly, to heal our physical ailments as well. So can you talk a little bit about the work that you currently do and really what you feel is effective in sound healing?
Well, first of all, I really enjoy it. And I got into it by accident. I've always been a musician and a singer, more intuitive. And I was really graced and fortunate enough to work with chiefs and indigenous people from around the world. When they would come to Los Angeles, they would ask me to chant. They would ask me to play music for them and with their ceremonies. And so it was a very intuitive process. I wasn't trained. And this is about 25 years ago. And so before it became a thing. Mm-hmm. And I've worked a lot in recovery. So I'm fortunate to be able to work in that model and offer sound healing. And insurance companies actually pay for that and recognize it as a real legit holistic offering and modality. So it's a lot in recovery, as well as privately, all kinds of factors. But one of the things that stands out is births. I've been at a few births where I was able to go into the hospitals and for C-sections right before they went into labor, or where they were going to have the operation for the C-section, perform sound healing. And people reported that if it was their second C-section, the healing was 50% at least faster than their last one. And their anxiety was better. And I feel like the baby was acknowledged with the sound and the chanting so that when the C-section happened, they weren't scared to come out. We really interacted with them. And you could see them moving and feeling the sound. So I've done everything from births to rehabs.
Wow. That's wild. So were you actually allowed in the hospitals for that?
Yes. So I was allowed in the pre-labor rooms.
Right.
And then I was like a doula. I was invited into the labor rooms where I did Reiki and toning and communicated with the parents. And when the baby was taken out, I introduced them to the parents. And I said the first words that I uttered to that soul was, "Welcome to Earth."
Oh, wow.
And then their name. Right? It's so
and
cool.
their name if they've been chosen their name?
Yes.
Wow.
And then introduce them to your parents. And like, these are your parents. So when they brought the baby, like I could get tears. It was so amazing. And so thinking about that our voice, first there was the word. We hear about this in so many texts. All the sacred texts talk about sound and that we're in a frequency universe. So if you think about all the sounds in a hospital setting or even a rehab or any kind of treatment facility, all of the intensity of the electronics, our voice, our intention, and then if we are fortunate to have frequency sound healing music live or recorded, can help with all of that. And the surgeons were really interesting. They were like, oh my God, can you come to all our births? They were like, we feel so relaxed. Thank you so much. Because they were there. Some of them, the main doctor would be there with me before and then in the labor room.
Wow. That's amazing. So let's back up a little bit about doing the rehab. I know that's something you're consistently doing here at the moment, working with multiple rehabs. And when we say rehab, we mostly mean for addictions.
Yes.
And so how is that working, and sort of what do you offer, and what transpires when you're doing sound healings at addiction recovery centers?
Wow. It's a really, really fascinating and of course important thing, because when people are in recovery and they're in treatment facilities, they're detoxing sometimes off of years and years of drugs, right? So they've got the physical detox. Then they've got their emotional and their mental and their spiritual aspects. And so I come in and I do sound baths at different drug and alcohol treatment facilities, as well as breath work with sound. So both of those have the sound included. I lead them through a process where I let them know the effects of sound healing, how it can help them with stress, sleep, physical detox, anxiety, depression, as well as resetting the brain. So I talk to them about the science behind sound, so they have an understanding. And then I lead them through a sound bath, and the experiences they have are amazing. So some people have they're like from prison right to treatment. Okay. Never had anything like this in their lives. So they're a little like, what is this? But they're intrigued by the instruments, the crystal bowls, everything. Wide variety of reactions from people falling sound asleep, and I cannot wake them up. They go so deep into rest that I leave them all asleep on the floor on their yoga mats. Or, wow, I had a vision. I understand why I've been stuck in this loop, profound insights, spiritual awakening. And then they all say reduction of anxiety and depression instantly, always. So there's tons of data about this from Johns Hopkins University. There's just across the board of all the things I mentioned, sound assisting people with that. So that's mostly what I do. And then the breath work is also important because it gives them something to focus on. And then they also have these profound experiences.
I'm assuming so much that our audience already knows what sound healing is,
Oh, okay.
but let's just clarify what sound healing is.
That's great. That's a great question. So for me, sound healing is the use of intention as well as frequencies that are very specific, because our body is made up of 70 to 90% water. This is what I explain to people, and that water holds all the memories that it's ever flowed through. So Dr. Emoto did a ton of scientific research on water and putting words on the water or speaking the words or playing music. And it changed after it was frozen water, and then it looked like crystals, right? Depending on the words, as well as there's so much science on this. So I talk a little bit about that. And what it is when these frequencies are played with the right intention. So it's just as important that the practitioner knows what they're doing and what kind of frequencies that they're playing, but also their intention. Because as you know, where intention goes, energy flows. So if a person is clear enough and they're playing these frequencies, their mental state and their intention along with the music makes it so that the other people, the law of resonance, their vibration gets raised. So if they're in PTSD and trauma, all of this kind of stuff, it takes them immediately out of that and starts to reset the brain of the right and the left side. So I'm taking it as, I'm trying to take a big subject matter and make it as easy to snack on, because obviously you and I can deep dive on this,
Right. So there's a little bit of hemi-sync going on so that both
Yes.
hemispheres of the brain are connected, and the sort of neurodynamics of your brain chemistry are rerouted in a healthier, more effective sort of way as the brain is supposed to function, rather than being blocked by bad memories or bad chemicals,
Hmm.
or sort of addictive habits, or addictive thoughts, as it might be, those sorts of
Absolutely.
things. And it also adjusts even your body's chemistry. It's not necessarily just the brain. I mean, it's a whole body experience.
Absolutely. I mean, people talk about having chills, getting hot, getting cold,
Mhm.
feeling tingly, emotions purging. I've seen people purge old emotions. One woman just recently just popped up afterwards and she said, she was crying and she said, I have never been able to cry about my childhood trauma. And she's in her 50s. So she finally released some of that. And then she was able to let it go. She was able to see the value of the lessons that she went through instead of being stuck in the story, right? So the practitioner that knows how to lead them through that process is really important, right? I want to talk a little bit more about the brain and the hemi-sync. So I talked to most of the people start using drugs and alcohol when they're in their teenage years, most of the time. Every now and then we get some late bloomers. Well, the front lobe of the brain is our right and wrong, and it's our logical part of our experience. Well, it's not fully formed till we're 21. So as parents know, they try to tell their kids to do stuff right and wrong. And they're like, it's not fully formed yet. So you put drugs in that, and the pleasure center, it's like Maslow's dog, they're just hitting the pleasure center button. And even though they know logic, they still have some logic. They're not fully using the logic. And then if you have an addiction to alcohol and drugs in addiction in the family line, the chemistry, the trauma, all of those things,
Mhm.
that pleasure center is where they're going to mostly reside. So the use of sound and the hemi-sync is also to balance the right and the left side of the brain. But I talked to them about the pineal gland. So the
Mm.
pineal gland, when it's hydrated, when we meditate, then guess what? We can see our responses and tune in and make better choices. Now,
Huh.
I'm not a scientist.
Right.
This is just from my own experience. I'm like a cocktail scientist. You know what I mean? Like I can talk about all of that stuff at a party, right? But it's important to have the basics. And most of us don't even know how this works.
Right.
So I watch them, go through their traumas, go through these kinds of things, and eyes are glazed over. Then we do meditation with the sound, and the next thing you know, their eyes have like light, and they're like, wow, I can see my patterns rather than being in my patterns. And there's something about the frequencies that can help with that. Like I'd like to do some more studies.
Right.
It would
It'd
be
be really
really cool.
interesting. It'd be interesting to see sort of what happens in the brain's chemistry exactly when you're doing the sound healing with multiple people.
Yeah.
So we'll bring that up at another time,
Yeah.
because that neurodivergence actually is something we talk about a lot here on the podcast, and that plays into it. So our brain's chemistry, how the neurons interact with one another, how we all process things. So it's just really fascinating. And obviously you see results.
Absolutely. I mean, long-term results too. I've been able to see people really go from like zombies when they first come in to it's like they're experiencing life for the very first time outside of drugs, alcohol, trauma, all of these things. And then they go into sober living and they keep doing the work. And I believe that it increases, again, I'm not a scientist, but from my own experience, that it increases the chances and likelihood of sobriety, because at the root, it's mostly trauma and anxiety. And I would say a huge amount of these people are either undiagnosed or diagnosed as ADD, ADHD. So they're trying to balance their brain chemistry also. So I think that's super important, right? And then once the brain starts to get the new neurons, not neurons, what are the things? The neuroceptors, is that what they're called? Once that happens, then you have greater capacity to be like, oh, this is sobriety. Oh, this is working through my feelings.
Right.
You know, that movie, What the Bleep Do We Know, back in the day, it's a really good movie about that. It's about the science of the brain and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
The tonal scale, there's a tonal scale of emotions where there's been studies of each frequency of emotion. And what I've heard is the highest frequency of emotion is authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
even higher than joy, which is interesting to me. So being true to yourself is higher than joy. So this is one of the things I talk to people about. Like, can you connect more with your true self? What is your true self? Discovering that, right?
Is there a greater connection to their heart as well?
I believe so, because I can see people getting stuck in the mind, and I lead them through connecting with the heart and breathing. And then what are you feeling? Try to get people more into the feeling and the energy. And sometimes they just feel the vibes, you know, and that takes
Right.
them out of their head.
Right.
So, you know, what's really interesting is we don't really know like how vast, this is a really vast subject matter and where we're going with it. Like there's all these things that they can measure the voice now and diagnose what's wrong with you physically.
Just
Where
by
are
the
we going
tone
to
of your
go?
voice. Right.
Right. Have you ever had
It's
that done?
fascinating. Not yet, but I think I should today.
I know, right? That would be so cool.
It'd be so much simpler.
Right? Because our voice changes every day, but there's something about the resonance of it. You know, one thing else I want to talk about is the vagus nerve, the largest the
Yeah,
largest nerve
please.
in the body, right? Well, most people that have trauma, if you're an energy sensitive, you can tell that it's tight. It's tight in the solar plexus. And that's where a lot of the cravings are. That's where a lot of the anxiety is, right there, right? So that vagus nerve from all the trauma is super tight, creates all this anxiety. And, you know, when I talk about when we have our belly button created, we're cut off from our mother of origin and the universe, and we go into physical reality. So we all have a trauma there, even if you had a great birth.
Right.
So that nerve, when we go into deep relaxation and you relax the parasympathetic nervous system, the vagus nerve starts to reset. And then the anxiety goes down, the cravings go down. And people experience that where they feel a little nausea or tightness, and then they're like, it feels relaxed. And they're like, wow, I don't have any anxiety. So the correlation of the vagus nerve with the sound healing and the breath is another thing that I feel really works. That's just from my own experience. I've seen it over and over again.
And we want to remind everybody that this just is not just for addictions or recovery. I mean, this is just for like navigating life right now.
Yeah, I always tell my clients, hi, I'm Angelica and I'm recovering from being unearthed.
Right.
Right? Because we talk about that. Like, it's being in modern life is not easy. Like, we have all these opportunities, but it's a lot of stress. We're all under a lot of stress. And a lot of it is electromagnetic frequencies that we're constantly barraged by. You know, I have a device by an amazing inventor that has Rife technology in it, which is, you know, has the frequencies, and it blocks a lot of those harmful electronic waves. But let's just say you don't have access to any of that. You can go on YouTube, you can listen to these frequencies with the different hertz. You can go into nature and earth and put your feet on the earth and connect with the frequencies of nature, which obviously that's partly why we're here, right? Like, we've been really, really called to work with what's happening in the oceans right now.
Yeah. So let's run into that. Let's just dive into the ocean right now and what's happening with our water systems on this planet. Otherwise, Angelica and I both live here in California. We've had tremendous fires. Much of the toxicity from the fires is running into our oceans right now. And the pollutants, the lithium, the asbestos, the various plastics are running off of the hillsides of the fires and into the ocean. And it's not just California, it's around the world. I mean, there's certainly lots of problems in Scotland that I'm aware of there where they've been fishing or where there's farm fishing that in the ocean that's actually causing greater pollution. There's all sorts of issues around the world. And our water on this planet is really important. It's more important than we probably admit or take responsibility for. So Angelica created a chant recently, and she spends a little time at the ocean herself. So she was driven to create this chant to share with everyone here so that you might share it with whatever body of water you're close to. And we shot a little footage. We're going to show this in the video, her at the ocean. We're going to share the chant with you as well. It's her original music and her original chant. It's 2 minutes long, so you can chant it yourself. And we'll show you how in the context of this video. But let's talk about how this all kind of came about.
Well, because of what's happening right now, we're seeing wildlife on the coast being impacted, from the seals to the whales to the dolphins, coming up either sick or not alive anymore.
Or dead, yeah. 4 whales have been are dead. There's been 50 to 100 seals that are either dead or extremely sick that California wildlife is trying to take care of. But it's a fairly extreme situation.
Yeah, it is. And so obviously it's from a disaster that is impacting us right now. But being on the coastline here, for 25 years, there's been a lot of influences of people trying to save the lagoons in Malibu and clean that up. And there's wash that goes in from the rains from the city. So we already have that impact into the ocean. So obviously there needs to be many different things to clean that up, because we work with frequencies and we're connected to spiritual healing. That this is an additional service that we want to connect with people on. And so the sound healing with the frequency of the chants and the calling, it's a calling chant to the dolphins and the whales and connecting with the ocean. And I made it in first person so that we're singing almost as the ocean itself, We're in the ocean. We're not separate from. We're connected with the animals, and we're communing with them. And so when we went into the nature, went to the beach, it was drumming and using the shaker and singing and chanting and connecting with nature. The idea behind this back to the water with Dr. Odo is that when we're putting that intention in those prayers, it can help clear the water. And it may sound so woo, and people be like, yeah, whatever, right? I mean, really, I get that, because we really do need to actually clean up the mess physically. Yet,
Still,
right.
This can make a difference.
Yes. And the vision I had was the water was clean, blue. I was moved to tears because I saw it in its natural state. Going back to how I work with the clients in the rehab, I don't look at them as an addict. I look at them as well. I channel that healing as they're well, they're in their essence, they're trauma free. So I hear their story, but I send them that frequency that they don't have anxiety, and I see it works. So why not the water? And indigenous peoples from around the world have been doing water ceremonies for years because they know how important it is. And many, many, many spiritual people spend a lot of time doing that. And there are people that are called the water bearers, and that's all they do all over the world. It's super important. And also, we don't know how big this ocean is. It's massive. It's going to be fine. Are we? Are friends of the sea? They're our friends.
Yep. We might not be doing so well if we don't take care of the ocean.
Right. And so just having that understanding that it's a part of us because we're made of water, rather than you go to the ocean and you sit by the ocean. It is a part of us. So when we were out there the other day and I was playing the music, we both experienced this profound moment where when the ocean was coming in, it was like playing with us. I could feel the consciousness when the water came up. It was amazing. It was powerful. And I was like, okay, so that's what I want to share with the chant. If you want to sing along with this and you want to every day put a few minutes towards praying on the water, praying on the oceans, praying on the rivers, visualizing the sea life healthy and well, visualizing the water clean, and singing it in first person. I am the ocean, you're connected with that. You're connected with the sea. Then when you go there, you're not ever going to leave any garbage. You're going to consider everything you're buying and what you're doing and how it's impacting, because it's a outpicturing of who we are.
Right. I mean, you could be by a river or a lake or a pond as well. That water affects you as well. I have this sense that when the chant is said, that it also helps you connect with yourself, helps you connect with the waters within yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, when you listen to it, did you do a meditation? Did you have any time to let it sink in. It's brand new. Like we just literally recorded it 2 days ago. So
Right.
I'm asking people like, how do you feel when you're listening to it?
Cleansed, actually, is how I feel.
Awesome.
Isn't that
Awesome.
interesting?
I love that.
Do you want to sing just a little of it right now? And we're going to include
Sure.
this in the video throughout, but do you want to sing just a little of it?
I'm an open channel. I flow where I belong. The dolphins and the blue whales, they sing our song. They sing my song. I am an open channel. I flow where I belong. The dolphins and the blue whales, they sing my song. They sing my song.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Woo!
I remembered it. I literally was like in the water when you asked me that
Right.
question. So
That's
this is
cool.
the thing, you know, like when you're a person that is kind of connected to these other realms,
Mm-hmm.
it's very interesting to go in and out of that deep meditation and then be back here and to fuse those two realities. So the chant, the idea of it is to lift you up into more of the 3D,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then sending that energy to the 3D.
Right.
So I could feel that when I was singing that, and I was seeing the dolphins and the whales, and I was seeing the water clean. It happened again.
Right. I mean, you could be on the Mississippi River and this will connect you to that river, or the Missouri River, or, wherever you might be, Lake Tahoe. So, or any place in the world.
Yeah, because it all goes back to the ocean, right? So even if I mean, my God, you could be singing it in your bathtub. That may sound silly, but really,
That sounds
why
nice.
not? You're in the water. You're in the water. And when we're in water, we're way more intuitive. You know that movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise, where they have, I don't know if you remember this, well, they had psychics and they were in bodies of water. And because they were in the water, they would read the future. And they were like sirens. And that's all they did. And their intuition was at a super high level because they lived in the water. They were always in the water. And I remember when I saw that, I was like, I resonate with that. Like if you get in the ocean or you get into a pool even, the cleansing, the flow that you get into, like it's amazing. And we need that. We need that to cleanse right now. Salt baths or sitting by a creek or a river or just having some time in nature with water.
Right. To ground and to cleanse ourselves. So,
Mm-hmm.
I happened to be at the beach yesterday, at another beach yesterday, just doing a little shooting at sunset, and the water was very dark. So
Yeah.
so even if you drive somewhere along the ocean, there's parts of Malibu you can't drive through where it's at its worst at the moment. They're still not being allowed to drive through, but you can drive up the ocean and you're going to go, oh, there's nothing wrong. But for instance, I happened to go to another beach and it's obviously there's toxins because it's very dark closest to the beach where the runoff would be. So it's still at this point, you have to be safe about entering the water too.
Yeah.
But
And I saw something that there was a dolphin in Santa Barbara.
exactly.
I mean, I don't know if that's an accurate video. It was on social media, but that's what I saw. And I was like, it's probably going up that far.
Right.
So I'm in
Exactly.
Ventura and it's going to go all the way through from Malibu, and Palisades, and maybe also go down south as well.
Right.
Right. But we've had oil spills and they clean that up right near us. So it's possible too to have the actual physical cleanup.
Right.
Yet,
It's just not happening yet.
not yet.
Anyway.
Not yet.
So in the meantime, we can chant and sing. And I think this connects us to one another as well, because the water has a certain vibration that carries around the earth. So this chant or this little song, whether you're just hanging out at the beach, getting a tan, or hanging out with your boyfriend or girlfriend, and, it's just a lovely little thing to say to connect with nature. And it kind of connects us around this planet.
Absolutely. I just get the vision too of kids singing it. I feel like kids would really dig it.
Yeah, it's very sweet. So let's tell people, how can they get in touch with you? How could you do a ceremony for them? We can talk a little bit about ceremony as well and the importance of ceremony in your work and what you're offering people through ceremony. We lack ceremony in our society quite a bit, whether it's a graduation or a wedding or a funeral. There are other opportunities to have ceremony or a ceremony in addition to what we might consider a traditional sort of celebration?
I mean, I'm a ceremonialist, so I love it. I think that it's very important that we have ritual in our life, and most cultures have that. And so basically, I create ceremonies for people when they're going through a profound change. A lot of house clearings where I set up an altar and I was given a mantra by a teacher, and I use sound frequencies to clear houses, the pets, and the land of either old energy, paranormal experiences, or even emotional traumas that are still resonating on the land and in the house. So it's not just paranormal. It can be something that a divorce,
Mm-hmm.
a loss of some kind, and then you can feel that imprint. So those are some of the ceremonies I do. I also do individual clearings where I go to their homes and I set up an altar, and it's to clear their energy. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it could be from a breakup. It could be from they just got fired. These are the things that a lot of people are going through,
Mm-hmm.
or the birth of a baby, right? Or even right before a wedding or after a wedding, things like that, where they might need a ceremony with sound healing and the mantra and the prayers. It's really beautiful. And then even just girlfriends getting together and being like, let's
Right.
do a full moon, new moon fun thing. It can be really fun also. And how you can get in touch with me is Angelica Perman at Instagram, right? So just my name. I'm in the process of changing all of my stuff online to release all my music as the Sound Empress. So it's the easiest way to reach me right now.
Okay. Say that again. Angelica Perman on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll
Yeah.
list everything in the description here, how to get in touch with Angelica. If you want to book her for ceremonies, if you'd like to talk with her about doing work in your rehab center, or even if there's a birth coming up or something like that. She does very magical, empowering work that you definitely have to do the work too, but it's a really lovely experience, I'm going to say.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really, you get somebody that's a ceremonialist or a healer, and that can create the container and facilitate the vibrations. And that's my job. And then the person that is coming to that being open, and then whatever changes that they need to make or spiritual practices to keep clear. So a lot of my clients, I'll do one of these ceremonies for them, clear their space, and then I give them a practice that I need them to do. That's simple. And they do that, and then it stays so that their vibration doesn't go down again when they have a stress or something that happens. And then it stays consistent. It's important to keep that. So think about it as like hygiene, right? You take a shower every day or a bath. So this is like spiritual hygiene, where you learn some basic clearing, some basic meditation. And I ask people to meditate to golden light.
Beautiful. Is there anything that you want to give our audience as a takeaway today? Anything that they can something super simple they can ground themselves with, both ground and connect at the same time?
Yeah, so I'm just going to ask you to take a nice deep breath, put your shoulders back, and just get really present. And imagine that there's golden ball of light above your head. And this is symbolic of our higher power as we know it. There's many names for that. And when we breathe that in, we're breathing in these frequencies of golden light, which transmutes old energy. And if you get a chance to go outside and sit in the sun for a few minutes, you can do it out there. Just imagine that the sun is clearing your energy body, your emotion, your mind, your physical body. If you're indoors, just breathe in the golden light and exhale the golden light. I'm going to be putting out a meditation with that, but that's the simplest thing. And you just start to practice focusing on that. I found when I use the golden light versus the white light, it really helped me. It was a form of spiritual protection. And I say this, the highest form of protection is being in your essence and being true to yourself. And when you're in your center, then anything that's happening in the outer world, you get to really be strong and connect with yourself. And no matter what's happening, you can flow with it. And I think we all need that now. I think we all need to learn how to hold our center.
Right.
Because all the change.
Yeah. All the change, all the things that are going out there, whatever everybody's up to, I don't know, black magic, or I don't know,
All the things.
military, all the things, whatever's happening at this time. The globalists, we just got to feel good, be grounded, love each other, and do the best we can. Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Angelica. I so appreciate this. I'm excited to share this video and this chant. Summer's coming, so hopefully everybody will enjoy a bit of this and a bit of grounding and a bit of connecting.
This body of water, symbolic of feeling, castles on sand we keep on building, and the water keeps on clearing. But what's the water saying we're not feeling? What's the water saying we're not hearing?